we can start by asking Ram, since I mean, we keep talking that India is a young country, but everybody who talks is over 80. So we can start by getting the youngest amongst us to tell us something about his journey, where he sees the future, what he wants to do, what he feels are the problems, where what he wishes were there in the environment, and you know, just generally the excitement of cinema, and the cinema at a particular space at this moment where it's set for a very big change. Right, maybe we are witnessing the death of cinema as we speak. I mean, death of cinema as we know it, right? Death of the exhibition system as we know it. Forms changing, VR, you know. Over to you.
Namaste and good afternoon. So yeah, that's a lot to talk about, but
whatever you want to choose.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. First and for all, I feel very lucky to have started my career now. As you mentioned, things are changing, and I've kind of come into this profession at that sort of at the threshold to something new, and I feel very sort of empowered. I think the first thing that we all are aware of that's changed recently is we've moved from celluloid to digital. So I was born out of the digital age as a professional. So I started with, I had one of the first 7Ds in South India. So that was a great, I mean, that's when I started filmmaking, when the 7D came out. It was the first time I picked up a camera. So I've never used the tape cameras even. So I started with CF cards and, low light capabilities. So, I didn't have to light. So the camera that became an extension of my hand was suited to like a dogma style of filmmaking. So I was able to kind of create a lot of short films on my own with my own camera, my own money. This is something that probably wasn't possible earlier, not as easily. At least you'd have to have some lights, right? Or you need other kinds of formats to shoot on. Now, as we're speaking, I think the new iPhone has 4K, slow motion, whatever. So, it shoots the same thing that a Red Cam shoots on. So, you can project it on any sized IMAX screen anywhere in the world. So, technology is no longer a barrier, which is great. It was great for me personally to come in at the time where technology wasn't a barrier. So that's how I started. Going forward to Titi, if it wasn't for digital, I couldn't have made the same film. I wouldn't have even attempted it. So I was working with farmers who have never acted before. If I had wastage, I wouldn't be able to take that brave decision to work with farmers. It's just that I was able to not have the pressure of, roles going. So that's the first thing. Number two, the internet. I'm from the internet age, I guess. So I grew up with access to content, which probably wasn't there before as easily. I have friends from FTII who said they saw all their films every evening screened from an amazing archive. And if you weren't at FTII, it would be hard to get those films. Mm-hmm. So now with DVDs and streaming and other forms of content accessibility, you can watch world films from your house, from your laptop. That's how I learned cinema. So access to content. So this sort of democratization of information through the internet plus digital things has allowed someone right out of film school to jump into a feature film, which was not possible earlier. Not that it's that easy, but I think Call, this Marathi film called Call, which is made by a friend of mine, was about to release. It's one of the most experimental films around. It's a small release. I don't know.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Right. So it was made for 10 lakhs, I believe. So, even with crowdfunding, you could probably put that much together.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, the people who made Sulaimani Kida made in 45 lakhs.
Exactly.
So there's,
So 10 lakhs is extreme, but it's possible. So we're in that age. So in that sense, yes, I feel extremely fortunate to be making films right now and to have started at this point. Little bit about what I sort of would wish.
How do you feel frustrated in any sense where when after you made the film, the journey that begins of the release of how your film is,
Right.
of how people talk to you, or
Right.
what happens then, you know.
You know, it's like a package deal, which I didn't expect when I went into it for the art, and I've realized there's the art, and then that's maybe the 5% soul of it, and the 95% body of it is all kinds of circuses. But there's a lot more to filmmaking. If you're a writer, you sit in a room and write. Maybe it's not as idealistic as that, because then you have to deal with the editor and your publisher, etc. But more or less, you're locked in a room creating through
I
words.
mean, I seem to feel. I mean, and I think I'm the last of the parallel cinema guys. You know, I mean, if it begins with Shyam and Manikal and Kumar Shani, then it goes through a lot of people in Bengal, everywhere, and of course we are not talking about Satyajit Ray and Ritvik Ghatak and Mrinalda and
Right.
Arvind and but what in Bombay was known as the pop parallel cinema.
Right.
Then it kind of ends with me. You know, I mean,
Right.
91, 92 and Dharavi, and then it
Right.
sort of fritters away. But I seem to feel that, there were mistakes we made,
Mhm.
right? Where it became a kind of parallel cinema, became a kind of Brahminism.
Right.
So we, in a sense, didn't prepare an audience for you.
Right.
I mean, there was.
But other things happened in the 90s.
So I'm just saying that, I mean, do you feel the lack? I mean, there seems to be always a disconnect. There is a film called
Right.
Tithi.
Right.
It goes to various film festivals.
Right.
In a certain circuit, it's loved, whatever. And then, you go to a normal place and just say Tithi, and you say, Tithi what?
Right.
You feel frustrated with that?
Right. I mean, like we did release in Karnataka, but one of the most are not acting. Then I succeeded in my intention. But I had a half-star review saying some guy took a handycam to the village and he pointed it here and there and he's trying to make money. I was like, okay, great.
So, I mean, let's go to
So that
Tony,
kind of audience
Tony
exists.
Aniruddha Roy Chowdhury, who comes from a background like yours, in a sense, from what is termed regional. I don't know why it's termed regional, right? So don't blame me for this, but what is termed regional? And because, I mean, at one point, I mean, if you say Tony was a regional filmmaker, then, at one time, Satyajit Ray defined Indian cinema, You didn't, I mean, we seem to have forgotten that at one point, all you had to do, even in an international market, somebody just had to have a Satyajit Ray film and he didn't need to have a stall. I mean, people come looking for him, So, I mean, from there to where Bengali cinema is now, and him moving to Hindi, what is the urge?
See, basically, I have done 4 Bengali movies, and I dream in Bangla. I think in Bengali. And I started in a Bengali school, and I was throughout, if I miss Calcutta a lot, if I'm outside Calcutta, I become homesick. And I love my rice and dal and fish curry, I'm called Tony, but I am absolutely Aniruddha. I'm not, my friends call me Tony, but I am very Bengali. See, I started, unlike Ram, I started my career in 86, after my school. And I was a production boy in one of a director's, Anjan Dutt's company, who used to speak a little bit of English. And I used to get right kind of food and a lot of my friends.
Anjad Dutt is a Bengali actor, director,
Yeah.
theatre person, musician.
I,
Bob Dylan figure in Calcutta,
And I used to get, locations, because a lot of my friends come from a little bit of affluent family. But that point of time, money was very less. In media I wanted to make films. From class 4, I decided I want to be part of it. Jovio. And I wanted to, like any other, I wanted to become an actor at that point of time because I used to do theatre. So the journey was very difficult because I am from the pre-computer era and I still miss the smell of film. I still miss the sound of camera when it's running during a shot. You used to give me some kind of, something used to happen here, some, butterflies, lot of things lot of reactions used to happen in my body, I still, miss the flicker of a projector. the flicker on a screen. So, but when I used to do Bengali films, people used to do a Bangla film. Yeah, you should do. After my first film, I got my money for a Hindi film. You should Hindi film. You should make a Bollywood film, not a regional film. But my thing is, Bengali is part of India. You know,
That's right.
Why it's regional? I mean, it's an Indian film. I have seen so many good Tamil films. You know, those are Hindi films. I always wanted to make Bangla films, you know.
I mean, we have come to a situation where a kid in Bombay knows Wong Kar-wai, but doesn't know Satyajit Ray.
Correct. Absolutely.
Which is a kind of odd thing, and
Yeah,
why we don't release our films, in each other's territories. Let's say it's almost like some foreign territory, but territories.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and in subtitles or whichever way, which, for example, Marathi cinema started doing with
brilliant-
great success. Right.
In a brilliant way.
Now,
Yeah,
now a
absolutely.
Marathi film suddenly does 100 crores. Of course, they have the advantage of being based in Mumbai, but still, I mean,
And-
4.5, 5 crore film.
And it's just making so
yeah,
much of
yeah,
money.
yeah.
But one thing I believe, Sudhir, that a film has no limit or no barrier as far as language is concerned. Film has its own language.
Yeah.
If it's subtitled properly, why can't people understand? Any language. We watch Wankarwai, we watch Kieslowski, we watch Bergman, we watch Chinese movies, we watch all kind of movies, Farhadi. So why can't we market it properly? And it hurts when when people tell us that you come from a regional background. And there is a kind of upper
Yeah,
hand.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
feel
yeah,
there is a kind of upper hand. ये regional है.
वो एक अलग caste system चलता
अलग
है.
का system है, but we are part of India, and it's all regional films are Indian films. And I wanted to make Pink, what Sir asked me. I wanted to make Pink in Bengali because I wrote that film, the idea of the film in Bangla. But where Shujit told, no, this is such a subject, you should reach people, which I feel he had done the right thing. And the film happened in Hindi, and it did well. But one thing, I'm happy, I did the film with my sensibilities.
That's right. I mean, it has connections with your first film also.
It has connections with my first film, which was on moral policing also.
Yeah.
My film, all my films have songs, but it's not a song and dance film. At the same time, trust me, I grew up with Hindi films and also parallel cinema, so-called parallel. I don't believe in, I believe in good cinema, a cinema which holds you, and every cinema has
I
its
don't
own
know. I
market.
like the word. I used to like the word parallel cinema.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a much abused word, but I used to like the word parallel cinema, that there are two parallel streams. And we don't have to be opposed, and good films can come from anywhere. For example, Lage Raho Munna Bhai, I mean, a good film can come from anywhere. Godfather is mainstream Hollywood, Or you could have a really shit independent film.
Independent,
You could have really crappy independent film. So, but there are two streams. So we are not attempting to be, so we are, in a sense.
In my school days, Sudhir, in class 10, we bunked our school and, we watched Ardha Satya. We watched Akrosh.
No.
We used to bunk schools and we watched Yado Ki Bharat also when it came second time, when we are studying in class 10 or 11. At the same time, we used to watch all these films and people used to enjoy. So my request to the establishments, always art is patronized by, king or a body or a government body. So we need some government bodies.
No, I
who
mean,
will come
and I think,
keep it alive.
yeah, I think always, I don't know if many people there, last year I did a session with Shyam Benegal, I've done a couple of them. But, in this early 70s, Shyam Benegal films started being released in theatres. I saw them when I was in school in small towns, And the reason why we saw them, because the American films at those times had been stopped. There was a problem between the American Academy, whatever, and Indian government. So for a while, they stopped. So Regal in Bombay or theatres that showed English films had theatrical space into which Shyam Benegal films came in, because they were produced by Blaze, who were actually putting the slide shows in all the theatres. They had contacts, so they had connections with the theatres. So Shyam Benegal films came, and Shyam Benegal films did well. So only the point I'm trying to make is, if there is availability of theatrical space for all sorts of films, then there are all sorts of audiences that are.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
In London, there is a space like this. In San Francisco, there is a place like this.
And you
Why
wonder
in India we don't have
spaces like this. So I'm not saying that our films will become blockbusters, there are of course mass films and films that will have a slightly smaller audience, but we are prepared for that, and we are not worried about that. But you want to give that film an opportunity. More than that, you want to give an audience that opportunity to be able to see cinema of all kinds,
How do we enrich ourselves if we want, if we don't see good cinema, or if we don't hear right kind of music? Classical music is important. So, agar people will they are not singing nowadays. They are getting into a fusion zone. How do we enrich ourselves?
So, tell me something. Have you read Martin Scorsese's letter to his daughter?
No, I haven't.
You should read it. It's Dear Francesca.
Okay.
She's from the digital age, and Scorsese uncle is telling his daughter the dangers of the digital age, the dangers of it being too easy, the rigor of coming up the grind and being rejected, and the rigor that comes from it being difficult. So just as anybody can
with film,
or anything. The
Right.
digital age is too easy. So where he came up, the way he came up, made him a sound recordist, this or that, with Roger Corman, with this person, being able to scrounge a film,
Right.
working really hard. The discipline of like, if Tony would remember, when we didn't even have a monitor. That concentration of taking that shot,
Right.
and the concentration of the whole team, So I'm saying, do you see, everybody can't be a poet even though anybody can write,
Right.
words are free.
Right.
But I'm just saying, do you see a lot of that kind of thing,
Yeah, of course. Yes.
how do you see the scenario, and how would you sift the crap?
To add, Sudhir does this thing. Nowadays, there is no economy of stock, It's taken for granted. The camera keeps on rolling and I can see people talking. But trust me, 20 years back, everybody with pins of silence, and we were so conscious about the stock.
No, I'm not mocking anything.
No, I get it.
You're the
Digital has given us a lot of things.
I'm saying you have already made a film, right?
Right.
You're the master. To a younger audience of 16-year-olds, who's seen Tithi,
Right.
appreciate the fact that I'm giving a young man this. Normally, this is reserved for 80-year-olds in this country. But, so why not? You've come to this medium. This medium doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to you.
Right.
Right. Now there's what advice would you give?
No,
I'm not
I
today the
understand.
dangers that you see in the digital age. Do
Yeah,
you
certainly.
see? We can all talk comfortable things and praise each other, but
No, I get it completely.
provoke it.
It's like the internet. So the internet's a tool, and suppose you have a medical condition and you go to the internet and you think you're a doctor, which most of my friends and family think I think I'm a doctor, and you think you have a serious medical condition, you'll try and do some funny thing, you'll put something in your nose and then you might damage yourself. So it's like, it's the upliftment that we've got from these tools, of course, can be misused, like the internet's misused. So definitely you do become lazier. It also becomes so accessible that anyone can do it, so everyone thinks they're filmmakers. You have to study the craft and use digital as a tool, not as a cushion, but as a tool to translate your vision, see how it can help you do that. I personally shot my final short film before Titi on film because I just needed to do it once. I had 2 takes per shot. And I rolled out on my last shot of the film, and I had no film stock left, and I was to the edit room. So that was great, and I've also started doing film photography because I need to create that discipline within myself. Because also, like, if we're talking just about economics on set, okay, there is film stock, but each minute you're paying, say, your actors X
Also,
amount.
there's craft, right?
Exactly, there's craft.
There's craft. There's lensing. Right.
Exactly, yes.
There's a mise-en-scene. There's
Exactly.
this idea of how to. What is a director? His vision. How his stamp.
Yeah.
How do you see reality? Because anybody can shoot reality. The realism is what you go to put a digital camera. You'll collect enough reality.
Right.
Even when you make a documentary,
Right.
actually, you need a point of view.
Right.
You're approaching something.
So film is imposing a discipline,
Yeah.
and not everyone's ready for that. But you need self-discipline, and you need to like approach it as a craft. So yesterday I was speaking something about zero-budget filmmaking, and I was just saying that you need to if you're making a zero-budget film and you have a cell phone, say you're using a cell phone to shoot, that doesn't mean you just point it anywhere and shoot. You search for cinematic lights. Suppose you don't have lights, that means you need the patient to wait for that magic hour or find that one window in the right part of the room.
Yeah.
Watch the light like Bergman did, go to the church and watch the light the whole day and then decide when you can recreate that. If it's foggy, come back tomorrow. So I made a short film before this called Ika, which I shot only between 5 and 6 every day for 14 days because I needed no sun, evening light. And there are films like Days of Heaven that was shot entirely in Magica. So if you don't have lighting and you want the sky to give you the right kind of light, you just have to wait.
Yeah.
Right? So that self-discipline has to come from the intention of the filmmaker. So yes, absolutely. I think
How much do you work on pre-production? How do you approach that?
to be honest, like when I shot on film, I had to approach it much more seriously because I had 2 takes per shot, so more rehearsals. So I was, instead of doing takes, I'm doing rehearsals. But with digital, I'm doing takes because I can. So that's the sort of difference. So I would do maybe 7, 8 rehearsals, and when I felt the take was right, I'd give it a shot. I had to be very spot on with my corrections. Give the corrections, and that's what you got. You don't have any more, or you're going to run out, and you can't make the film. So I really feel that that romanticism of film is very important. It's kind of like shooting a bow and arrow versus shooting a gun. So digital's like a gun, but film's like a bow and arrow, where your potential energy from your shoulders is pushing that arrow, wherever it's got to go. Like there's a part of you in it.
Aniruddha, now that you have a very successful film behind you, are you going to dump Bengali cinema?
No way. No way. I am ready with a Bengali script. I don't know, but I have to make that. And 2 more stories I have. I will make Bengali films
Because
also.
you should. Because you can take Bengali cinema to the rest of India because you will be known, and those specific local stories that can only be told in Bengali, I guess, should be told in Bengali or not.
Yeah, it should be told in every film has its own nuance, has its own ism. So we have to,
because language is also a sound, no?
Language is also a sound, and there are certain things.
A lot of people say that why did you make Hazaron the way you did? But if I had everybody speaking Hindi, then that difference does the sound of the city and the sound of the village. Without obviously stating it, there is, you get it, you get it, and that adds a layer to a film which wouldn't be there if there was just a,
Even certain unspoken languages are so Bengali.
So what would you say to an audience? Do you often get angry with an audience? Is this holy thing? The public is this holy thing. The public votes correctly. The audience is all okay. So do you have some frustration there? What would you expect?
See, this is a very difficult thing to answer. When I make a film, trust me, I don't think of audience. It's like I am making a baby. You don't know whether he or she will be a great guy or a lovely woman. Somebody will do well in life. You don't know. You're making a baby, and it has its own joy. After that, you think, कौन सा स्कूल में जाएगा? पढ़ाई ठीक से कर रहा है कि नहीं? After that marketing, and unfortunately this has become so important, when you take producers' money. The first film, Sudhir, I'll tell you, before I start this, nobody gave me money. Yeah, art film, this is an art film. You want to make an art film? I didn't have money. We used to make art films. We had to buy a camera from R.M. Rao. We bought a camera and we put our own money, me, my wife and a friend of mine. We did Onuranun. Then I had to wait for 1.5 years. In Bombay, we used to go to every place to sell that film. We sold it properly. The film ran for 100 days, also got a national award. So it covered. It's a very difficult task to get 1 crore or 80 lakhs. And another thing, why I can't watch a film like Tithi? Why it's not coming to me? No way. I don't want to download Indian films and watch. The problem is the distribution system. It has to it has to reach people. And as far as audience is concerned, audience should have patience here. Why people will us edit it fast, and so that why people will say the music has to be a little bit jazzy so that audience will you can hold the audience.
Don't you feel the audience has been created by a certain kind of cinema that they've watched since they were young in that sense? So I'm saying that, so they're used to something.
Yeah, Ram, when there is question of money, lot of other things, lot of baggage also comes.
Of course,
you
I
can
understand.
create your audience, but when you make a film for 1.5 crores, no Bengali films make money. No Bengali films, they are covering their money. So it becomes a very difficult
No, I
task.
sometimes think for the past 60, 70 years since the Brits were there, this idea of entertainment tax was a kind of idea where, you were supposed to tax an industry and not allow it to work in a real sort of way. The whole ticketing system, the economy of the industry, you tax it so much that people only play safe, in a sense. And now we have continued for 60, 70 years with that same policy. We are taxed to death. Should cinema be, is cinema supposed to make too much money?
Cinema.
Should there be an expectation from cinema about too much money?
There
I mean, maybe it should be self-sustaining, maybe, but it's also the profit in cinema to a society is far more than just money. There's a profit. I mean, a Satyajit Ray, a Bengal without Satyajit Ray, is it?
Or
Ghatak, can you imagine now? Can you imagine that?
That's why those bodies are important. Or
So
those people
he's far more important to the value of Bengal than the amount of money he made.
Absolutely,
and the value of India.
absolutely.
So I mean, much more than maybe some film that well, we can call it a film that made a lot of money in those times. So how do you ascribe value? Is that a problem? How the governments and people see you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the more enriching films out of India, definitely, I mean, the better for all of us and for us as filmmakers to be creatively free. Unfortunately, or whatever, I mean, so everything's just running on economics. Like the guys, I've just gone through the whole distribution thing with Iti, where I've been running around trying to get one show here and there. So it's all running on numbers. The people sitting in the exhibition offices are not really looking at which film is coming. They're looking at de-risking and the number of seats they're selling and, that kind of thing. So, so we were talking about subtitling and exhibition systems. I mean, I'm a great proponent of subtitle culture because that's Bengali film. And so look, we as filmmakers have been watching subtitle films since we started and are very enriched by it. There's no reason why. And in Bangalore, which is a Kannada-speaking place, they got 6 shows a day. It's not 6 shows a day per screen, and sometimes multiple screens. So there was one theatre that was running 18 shows. It was knocked out by Monday. So there's this issue of also release big and try and get your money back quickly, and because you're actually fooling people into going for a big film based on a star value, whether it's good or bad. So that's de-risked because they'll go to check it out on the first weekend anyway, make back all their money with those 18 shows in that one theatre. This is not okay. So I'm saying you take a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan, you keep that one screen for an indie film. I promise you it'll run better than the commercial films in the other 9 screens. That is one thing. The other thing is that everything's changing and where all distribution systems are becoming a little more democratized through SVOD and net, these models, which have their own problems because you're paying a subscription, a filmmaker gets a one-time payment and the film gets lost in a sea of content. So for us, that's a different story altogether. But this is what I think needs to be. There needs to be a little bit of forward thinking rather than meeting your 1-month quota.
I agree.
And the long run economics are favorable. This is what I'm telling everyone. I wanted to write another thing called the economics of quality. Now, suppose sync sound as a concept, right? I'm trying to promise producers that it will eventually make you back more money on the global forum. If you're looking at the global forum, do it. Do it because there's an economics to quality and India doesn't think that way.
Kuch der pehle, there was a film called Asha Jawar Maje, which didn't have any
Vikramaditya Sen Gupta,
yeah.
right.
And it did so well. It ran houseful for 5 or 6 weeks in Calcutta.
And also,
so there is
yeah.
an audience. And it can be my delusion, what I want. Audience should come and tell us, and tell the producers and tell the distributors, give us more films. Because this is a very symbiotic relationship. If you want good cinema, we have to deliver good cinema. We have to, everything can't be popular. Once I asked I listen to a lot of classical music, and a lot of my friends come from that fraternity. Once I asked somebody that why you don't do alap, audience sunta nahi hai. Audience doesn't listen to alap nowadays. So we get into drut, and then jhala. That's why I am not doing alap with my sarut. So that's a sad thing. How we grow then. We have to watch good cinema. Okay, we'll make popular cinema also, and everything which is popular is not good, and everything which is good is not popular. Can't be popular, that I believe. But there has to be some system which is done by government, as he said very correctly, that there has to be screens in every state, 1 or 2 screens.
Yeah,
And government can sponsor that screen. There is so much money vested. And people will watch it, people will give money.
In fact, Mumbai, the only one screen that I think used to do well when festivals were held and many things, that was the Akashvani theatre was shut. And then, I don't think that there was any commercial reason for, like in the old days when Doordarshan was doing great premieres and some very, very good shows, the people saw, and then suddenly, Doordarshan was shut for some reason, so sometimes you feel that there is a conspiracy against good taste. You have a mic there? No, but if they're recording it.
ये ले सकता है, we can share.
ये ले लो. या अभी आप वहीं खड़े रहना, अगर कोई सवाल पूछो. हाँ, आप हट जाओ फ्रेम से. हाँ, sorry. हाँ, ready.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My main question is to you. Earlier on you was mentioning about film should be able to just show and you should understand what's going on. Now, I don't speak very good Hindi, neither Tamil nor Bengali, but I saw Pink, and as much as I didn't understand some of it, or quite a lot of it, the film came across so powerful. It was, I felt the story. My question is, when you decided to do that story, was it because you wanted to empower women? Was it because you wanted to get, the weaker sex's, story across? How did you go into it? What made you choose that story? And how did you get it across so well? It was just beautiful. Sorry. Thank you.
Firstly, thank you so much. But when I started thinking of this story, which is in 2011, you get up and you see so many things happening around you. And sometimes you feel upset. You become angry. You become frustrated. You become violent. You become disgusted. You cry. And some kind of reaction happened to you. And as an artist, what you can do? I can't go and beat anybody on the road. I can react through my work. So I decided to do this story in Bengali. It's basically a reaction, and which all of us believed in the crew, and which is reflecting on screen. When the coach scenes where we were doing some scenes, I was sitting in front of the monitor. I had a problem, injury in my leg. So after every scene, I couldn't help but go there and hug those girls. They were so beautiful and they were so real. My heart, I started crying. And I can see people, assistant makeup, some, local artists, junior artists, they are also crying as if they are in the part of, So it's more like a reaction. We didn't want to prove anything. As far as I am concerned, I didn't want to prove anything. It's a reaction what happened. It's a story which was with us, and which we believed, and we want to tell that story.
Just because, again, get into the commercial side. You know, a few years ago, I was working with Sudhir Mishra on one of his movies, and the actors were all sat there chatting, and they're saying, well, you know, it's only feel-good movies that do well in India, because obviously life is hard, and people want to go to the cinema, spend 120 rupees on a ticket, and come out feeling really good. So many a time, good stories don't really get, you know, the magnitude of success that they deserve. But this movie is definitely not a feel-good movie, but it has a wonderful, or it's got an aggressive, open message, which made people, you know, just feel part of it. So commercially, I understand it's done quite well. So it actually killed the idea of the feel-good factor. So no, I don't think Indians only do go see a feel-good movie. If the story is good and it's presented well, I'm sure, you know, more people will see, you know, stories like this.
I think good stories always work. You know, there are so many good films which are not feel-good movies, which has been, done. You know, even 20 years back, 10 years back, they did so well. So, Pink has done commercially well. That I heard that, and I can see that. But we have done films like this. I'll tell you one instance. I did a film called Ontuhin, where the girl dies at the end. It got a national award. You know, Golden Lotus. Also, it ran for almost 100 days. But I used to get calls in the morning. I got a call from a almost 60-year-old lady. She called me. She told me, I teach in Presidency College. All of us will stop watching your films. I also have a daughter. And she started crying. I got a call, I got an email, it's still with me, from Bangladesh. You know, somebody wrote to me that Brinda died in Ontuhin, and will Rahul meet her in some other space, because they used to chat in the internet, you know. And I made love for a number of times yesterday night with my fiance, who is an artist, and he died today morning at 7 o'clock. So should I kill myself so that I can meet him somewhere there in some other space? It's true. I am part of the script throughout. It's a process. But you are asking about those psychology, you know, I observe a lot. I love to observe. You know, when I was young, I used to mix with older people. And I have got a lot of friends from different segments, you know. I have lived on the pavement. I have stayed in a 7-star hotel also. I have lived on a pavement for more than a year with my father's supervisor, you know. So I have seen life. So a lot of my friends tell me, you are 900-year-old. I used to travel in Patna, Barauni, Mokama. I used to lie people that I have come here to make films. I used to look after my dad's business then. I have seen people with guns.
Very well known to English.
अरे हिंदी में पूछो, मैं ट्रांसलेट कर दूंगा, सबको आती है थोड़ी थोड़ी.
Because you are all
हिंदी में पूछो, हाँ सवाल पूछो यार.
मैं हरियाणा से हूँ और मैंने I have produced a film and several music albums.
सवाल है क्या?
सवाल ये है सर, अभी आपने ये कहा कि रीजनल लेवल पे फिल्मों को सरकार की तरफ से थोड़ा सहयोग मिले, प्रमोशन मिले. अगर मैं हरियाणा की बात करूं या पूरे देश की बात करूं, अलग अलग स्टेट्स हैं. बंगाली आप करते हैं सर, आप कैपेबल हैं, आप करते हैं. हरियाणा में क्या है, अभी तक एक फिल्म ऐसी आई है जो पूरा हिट हुई है, चंद्रावल, अगर किसी ने सुना है तो. सतीश कौशिक जी हैं बॉलीवुड में, वो हमारे नज़दीक के हैं, बहुत अच्छा किया, बॉलीवुड में आके किया है. रीजनल लेवल पे इतना वो नहीं कर पाए. तो क्या ये मंच, अभी आपने कहा कि गवर्नमेंट शुड टेक एक्शन, ये मंच है ना सर, सरकार यहाँ पे ले सकती है एक्शन. इफ़ ही और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, इवन और मिनिस्टर इंफॉर्मेशन एंड ब्रॉडकास्टिंग जो भी है, वो मतलब स्टेट्स को जो है डायरेक्ट कर सकती हैं कि आप पॉलिसीज बनाइए.
वो इधर बैठ के हम लोग वो निर्णय नहीं ले सकते, लेकिन वो करना चाहिए. वो तो सबने बोला ना.
बट वी कैन कन्वे द मैसेज.
हाँ, वो तो इसीलिए तो बोल रहे हैं, वो रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है इसलिए.
या
वो देखिए, वाह वाह, ठीक है.
थैंक यू.
Okay, I think this is done. I don't think anybody has questions. This is wonderful. I hope you record this and, you know, send it to every film school in India. Thank you.